welcome to Throneys.
Hey, John.
This is John in Osaka.
Kris in Tokyo.
All right, and today we're going to talk about episode 9 of season 6 of Game of Thrones, entitled Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of the Bastards.
Kris, why do you suppose they called this one Battle of the Bastards?
It's just hard to put my finger on it. I think though. Okay, can I just open with this remark? For our dozen viewers who watched last week's episode, you cleverly worked in Dumb and Dumber scene to explain how I like that in your editing, by the way, how you worked in it, how you wanted to shit on this episode. I will say, I'll use another line from the Dumb and Dumber when Lloyd and Harry, when he traded the Muttmobile for the little scooter, he traded it in, and Jeff Daniels went up to him and said, "Lloyd, just when I thought you couldn't do anything stupider, you totally redeemed yourself." I think Game of Thrones totally redeemed themselves in this episode.
Yeah, it was a good episode.
Whew, wow. I mean...
Hey, guys. Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
But once you break it down, what was your top moments?
Oh man, like I love this episode on so many fronts. It's definitely my favorite episode of the season. It's probably my favorite episode ever. It's definitely the most if there's one adjective to describe this episode, it's definitely the most epic. And the Daenerys thing that was just the icing on the cake. Like, we weren't even expecting. Last week you joked about how Danny just kind of popped in. And I was like, they're low on money. They don't have the budget. And I thought, oh, they were saving. They had that in their back pocket for episode 9. But that was just, icing on the cake.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, well, let's see. So, let's talk about the Daenerys scene then.
Okay, let's get that one out of the way.
Yeah, we'll get that one out of the way. Not that it's an unpleasant choice.
No, it was great. But
I particularly liked that scene. Let's see. Now, for the first time in the series, we have dragon combat. The dragons have done stuff before.
Yeah.
But this is really the first time where it was like a navy versus dragons. And that was really cool to watch. And it was a little bit cheesy with her on the dragon, and she says, "Dracarys." But in the end, that's just minor.
I think like it's the cheesiness. I don't think it's so much a result of the visuals or CGI. I think it's more a result of a person on a dragon. And I think there's no way to get around that. So I'll give the show a pass on that. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how can you ride a dragon? You know,
we're going to have to suspend disbelief anyway if we're going to play around in a fantasy world with dragons in it. So we might as well just say, okay, makes sense that a lady can ride around on a dragon.
Right. By the way, Jen, just want to make a quick comment on those 3 slaver masters guys, right? The, isn't that the dumbest thing to be like, kill him, he's the lowborn? Yeah. I'd be like, I'm the lowborn. Take me.
I was a slave. Don't kill me.
No, I think that's the total way to play it. Be like, no, kill me. I'm the low, like, go the humble route. Like, I'm taking one for the team, because they're not going to kill the guys that are like, selling out their own guy. Like, kill him. I'd be like, I'm the lowborn. Please take me.
Yeah, I agree. That wasn't what did the Hound say last week? You're shit at dying.
Yeah. So that opening sequence was pretty cool.
Yeah. That was very awesome. Really
pushed the narrative forward a lot. Finally, she got the Theon Yara thing. Okay. They got the ships.
And we had Yara doing a little bit of a Nampa action on Daenerys.
Right. Right. Well, we found out that she plays for either the other team or for both teams.
Could be a switch hitter, but at least we know she's not. She at most she's a switch hitter.
Right.
Could be locally in the other team, but yeah, that was interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
We had a friendly reunion between Tyrion and Theon.
Right. Yeah. So can we get to the?
Oh yeah, there was other stuff that happened in that episode, wasn't there?
Yeah. Oh man, I feel like I'm bottling up my excitement, and I don't know how much longer I can contain it. Like,
let's still break it down in order. There's one scene that I kind of want to talk a little bit about before we get to the awesomeness, and that was Davos. Davos finds the barbecue fire pit.
Right.
Yeah. And I thought that was a beautifully shot scene, right after Tormund wishes him happy shitting.
Yeah, that was a great dialogue, by the way. I love that interaction between Davos and Tormund. Who would have known?
Yeah. But so that's setting up something pretty interesting for next week, possibly.
Do you think that Davos is going to... Because Davos has always struck me as the very rational type person, but then again, we are talking about the burning of a young child that he cared a lot about. So,
yeah.
Do you think he's going to make peace with the Red Woman, or it's over, like he's going to try to do something really outrageous?
I don't really know. I mean, exactly, if he decides to bring her to justice, is that really outrageous?
Is that really what?
Would that really be outrageous? If
No, I don't mean... Okay, so I guess what I mean is, remember how Davos was kind of, not lecturing Jon, but remember how Sansa was like, don't do what Ramsay wants you to do, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing, like Davos is saying, no, Jon. Like when Jon's running out in the middle of the battlefield, right? And Davos like, no, Jon. So it's like, what you should do because, what you feel you should do because of justice and because of your emotions taking over. And that's the same thing. Davos is like, no, Jon, don't do it. Stay cool. Keep a cool head, right? I think it's kind of the same thing with Davos with Shireen, because they need the Red Woman, apparently. She's one of the emissaries or the, I don't know what to call her, one of the disciples of the Red God, and she obviously has these awesome powers. If we need to bring Jon Snow back a few times, even though he doesn't want it, right? They seem like they need her on that team.
Well, I'm thinking actually, one of my predictions for next week, she's a gunner. They might need her on the team, but these days she kind of just seems a bit befuddled. She's like, I don't know what's going on.
Interestingly, if they killed her now, it'd be like when she grew, because before, it was when she was overconfident. She's like, yeah, let's burn the girl. Now it seems like she wouldn't be the type of person to rush to burn the girl, ironically. If she died now, it's almost ironic, because it seems like she kind of learned that she doesn't know the word. Like in that conversation with Jon, she's like, I'm not a strategist, I don't know, and I tried my best. She never had that attitude before, like, oh, I try my best to understand what the Lord of Light wants, but, sometimes I miss the mark.
Yeah. Ironically, her character has seemed most riddled with doubt since she pulled off her biggest miracle.
Right.
After resurrecting Jon Snow, then, all of a sudden, she's like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. I don't know nothing. It's all just too crazy for me. So,
you got to understand too, though. I think she invested a lot of her time and soul in the Stannis thing, like over seasons, right? So it's over years and years. So she put all her eggs in the Stannis basket, and when that failed, I think that hit her really hard. And she's only been with Jon, for a few episodes, and she's like, well, maybe this was the whole plan all along. But I can see how she would be really confused about that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I think the original. Well, what they're predicting, the first time I think the White Walkers kind of took over the world, they were defended, this is millennia ago, by a character named Azor Ahai.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the disciples of the fire god, or whatever they're called, Lord of the Light, they're all looking around for the return of the Lord of the Light.
So this Lord of the Light guy, he's not one of the new, they say the old gods and the new, he's not a new god, apparently. If he was around 1,000 years ago, right?
Yeah. Well, he's not. The old gods, those are the ones that just basically they're the ones that were always in Westeros.
They're like the seven, right? The 7-pointed thing.
The seven came after those.
Oh.
So the seven kind of came over from Essos, and they came with the Andals. And the seven kind of basically competed and eventually won a war of dominance in terms of fate, in terms of Westeros. But on Essos, there was always these other guys. One of them being the Lord of the Light.
Okay.
And they have their own mythology. And so you can never really tell exactly what is the one true religion in Westeros. They all seem valid and they all seem bullshit at the same time.
Yeah.
But the Azor Ahai, I think the legend is he basically vanquished the forces of evil with a flaming awesome sword that ignited after he murdered his wife, killed his wife with the sword. So I'm wondering if what's going to happen is Jon Snow is going to skewer old Melisandre. As soon as he does that,
Huh. Or if that doesn't happen, he could go up to old Uncle Benjen and be like, "Hey, can you give me the flaming flail might work too?" And that's a cool weapon.
You got two of those?
You got a spare I can borrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Now,
John,
you want to get to the battle?
oh yeah, I don't think I can contain myself any longer.
But, wait, one more thing.
Okay.
Right before the battle, my second little nitpick of the episode.
Okay.
I think everyone who was watching that episode, right before the battle commenced, they were shouting at their TV screen, "Serpentine! Serpentine! Run in a zigzag! Don't run in a straight line!"
Oh, right. Oh, man. You know what it reminded me of, in a way? Have you ever seen that movie Apocalypto?
Yeah.
It totally, if our dozen viewers haven't seen that, it's really awesome, by the way. It totally reminded me when he was, when they were shooting the arrows at that guy and he barely made it to the bushes, but like one caught him in the elbow.
Yeah.
But I liked how, I thought it was really cool because it totally made sense because they've been building up Ramsay's a really proficient archer. I mean, we saw him hunting that girl a few seasons back, and
that's the point. He's an archer.
Yeah, he's an archer, so it didn't come off as like he was intentionally missing in the beginning. He wanted to get. Wow, you got to give Ramsay credit. I mean, man, that guy is a sharpshooter. But
in defense of poor dead Rickon, he's what, like a little kid? So maybe the idea of running in a serpentine fashion didn't really occur to him.
Well, here's the thing too: is serpentine. It reduces your chance of getting hit, but it also means that the distance until you move out of range of the arrows is longer. So, it's better to do the serpentine thing, right? But when you're just like, oh my God, fight or flight, you're thinking, I want to get out of range of that arrow as soon as possible. So probably you're not thinking in a rational way. You just want to get as far away from the trajectory of the arrow as possible.
It's one of those things that, in my opinion, makes Rickon's death just that more tragic. And that was a little bit hard for Jon. Just because now, if you think about it, the Stark family's pretty well fucked. I mean, their only option, I guess, the hope is that Bran's paralysis is somehow not included as junk.
Yeah.
Else he's not going to be able to make any more Starks. I mean, they would have to legitimize Jon Snow.
Well, on the other hand, John, I mean, I've heard talk of like how this episode represents the changing of the old ways to the new, right? So you've seen kind of the females taking a strong role. You got Queen Daenerys, you got Yara. They're making the jokes about the guys and everything. I could see totally Sansa being like, I'm not going to continue the Stark line. I may be female, but this is the new way, and I get Stark blood in me. So you never know.
Well, we'll see. Maybe they'll switch to a matrilineal lineage.
Yeah.
That would be very progressive.
By the way, John, that scene you just mentioned. Oh, sorry, you were going to say something else?
No.
Oh, okay. The scene you mentioned where Jon went out. Let me ask you a question. There were a couple moments in this episode, and going into this episode, I was like, almost impossible Jon dies. Because it's like narratively, why would they bring him back? But
just to kill him again.
Melisandre plants the seed of doubt. She's like, well, maybe you're just brought back. And they do that. The writers totally did that on purpose, right? They totally, and the reason Sansa didn't tell Jon about Littlefinger is because then that would have, everybody kind of expected it, but we weren't for sure, right?
Yeah, she didn't know when he was coming.
Yeah, but the fact that Melisandre said, well, maybe he just brought you back just to let you die here because maybe you play some role in this battle, but maybe you're just supposed to die again.
Well, and if you want to follow that line of thought, I mean, I think the dialogue went something like, maybe the Lord of Light brought you back just so he can kill you again. And then Jon Snow says, well, what kind of a god is that? The answer is George R.R. Martin. So maybe the Lord of Light is the author. It's just a guy that likes
right. That is true. The author is kind of like the god. He controls the fates of all his characters in the book, so he's like a god, yeah. But so there was a couple points, and I wonder what you thought. Like when Jon ran out there.
Yeah, what was going in my head was Sansa's advice of don't do what he wants you to do.
Yeah.
And then Jon's like, all right, whatever, lady. You let me do the war stuff. I'm the guy here. And then what's he doing? Pretty much exactly what he wanted him to do.
Yeah, and that's totally Jon. I mean, that's what we expect Jon to do. He's a Stark.
They made comments before about how he's a much better fighter than he is a tactician and a battle commander.
Right.
And you kind of saw that there. He got, I guess, swept up in his emotion.
And even more so for Tormund, who's like, I love the part where he's like, yeah, we're gonna do this. A pincher. A pincher. He's like,
double envelopment.
It's like, you don't get attacked from the sides. He's like, oh, okay. But anyways, when Jon was on that field, and then the second time when he's getting smothered and having to claw his way out, did you ever worry? Like, was there a moment where you were like, oh my God, is that it? Did you ever have that moment of doubt?
Well, I don't know. I think one of the themes of the show, or maybe one of the themes of the series, is that war isn't really a glorious thing.
Yeah.
War. It's fantastic.
It's just kind of this dark and chaotic and messy and horrible business. And toward that end, it would kind of make sense that they would bring a character back from the dead, only to have him be trampled to death.
Wow.
Just so that you can be like, yeah, that's pretty much how shitty war is.
Yeah. What an impact that would have. I'm so glad that didn't happen, but can you imagine the impact?
The part where I was like, oh, they're not really going to do this, are they?
And they use some clever camera work, too. When Jon, gets dehorsed and they're charging, and he's like, fuck it. He takes off he unsheathes his sword, I'm like, and you see them charging. That was probably, I don't know, that or the smothering. I'm not sure where I was more concerned because I'm invested in Jon now. He's probably my favorite character. He's come to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite character. And when they were charging, I mean, you kind of know the guys in the back, but the way that they shot the camera angle, you didn't see the horses right behind them. They kind of shot it, at an angle looking up purposefully, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then at the last second, it's like, and just looking around like this. His befuddlement was perfect. It was right on target.
That was really a beautifully shot episode.
Yes.
I'm blanking the director's name now. Miguel Sanopchuk or something weird.
Mm-hmm.
But he did a fantastic job. And I think he also directed the Hard Home episode last season. And so yeah, just the photography alone was fantastic and super to watch. And yeah, the way he edited those sequences and shot them was really gripping stuff.
Yeah, and it kind of for those within our age demographic who might remember the show Braveheart, it kind of was reminiscent of Braveheart in certain ways. It's like you have a superior army in terms of number, and they had, was that the kind of Roman formation thing where they had the shields and the long spears? I'm not sure, but
phalanx. I think the Greek hoplites used to kind of
okay.
Phalanx.
Okay, yeah, it reminded me of something I'd seen somewhere before, and it also kind of
a lot of the middle Lord of the Rings movie, Two Towers, where that siege scene, and then they were kind of they got their asses pulled out of the fire by the cavalry charge at the end. The Battle of Helm's Deep. I think little bit of some allusions, a little bit of callback to that cinematic scene. But yeah, it was I would put it in terms of medieval warfare on screen. It definitely stands up with the achievements of cinema.
Oh yeah, it felt like a movie. I think they raised the bar. Like when they lowered the bar last episode, I think they just raised it back higher than it's ever been with this episode.
Totally redeemed yourself.
Totally redeemed. Yeah, I can't wait to see if you edit that shot. Next week.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? Guys!
We'll see.
So John, what were some of your favorite moments in this episode?
Yeah. Probably it was a bittersweet moment. But the death of Rickon got to me. But what also kind of surprisingly got to me was what I was predicting before the episode.
Yeah.
That was 1-1, brave 1-1.
Yeah.
I liked it because we had an episode a few episodes ago where the other giant in the show saves the day by holding the door closed.
Yeah.
Here we've got a giant who dies sacrificing himself, pushing the door open. And interesting little parallel there. And it comes like a porcupine, feeling really bad for him. And then he takes him in the eyeball and dies. It was well done scene. It was a well done.
I felt like to give the episode some. I knew that like Game of Thrones writers do this often, and I think it's necessary in huge battles with huge stakes. You got to lose some. You got to have a meaningful loss, right? And even though I like 1-1, I'm glad it wasn't Tormund because I love Tormund's character. Of course not Jon, let alone Jon Snow.
That character to do Tormund. But they never really bothered trying to characterize 1-1, which I don't really think is a bad thing. I think he's basically a symbol more than a character.
Yeah.
And just he's a symbolic, mysterious, endangered creature of the North. And so him falling in that way was it was sad, but it wasn't really disappointing.
Yeah, he went out like a total boss, and I love how he charged through that door, and even after he was on his knees, he was still like growling out, and it was great. And when Ramsay put the last shot in his eye, that's when you knew, like, man, Jon Snow, he's at the end of the day, he's an emotional Stark, like even though Ramsay really kind of outsmarted Jon. I mean, I love Jon to death, but he doesn't. Part of the reason we love him is because he acts out of. He's very passionate, right? Yeah. And he does what he thinks is right. But what is right is sometimes not the smartest thing to do, right? So it's funny. So when he challenged Ramsay, that was actually a clever idea in the beginning, right? But and Ramsay gives us the answer. Well, I don't know if I could beat you, but I know my army could beat you. At the time, he had every reason to believe that, right? But then at the end, he's like, okay, let's do it.
Well, give the devil his due. Ramsay was a shrewd battlefield commander and a tactician. He had no idea that the Arryn cavalry was coming to save the day.
Right.
And he totally would have won that day.
Right.
If it weren't for some bad luck. And also, he didn't really get all grovelly. He was arrogant until the end.
You would expect that from his character too. Like we'd probably want him to grovel, but then that wouldn't really be consistent with the type of character. He was never shown to be cowardly like Joffrey. When the dog Nymeria attacked Joffrey and he's like, no, don't hurt me. Like Ramsay, say what you will, but he wasn't really a coward. He was shrewd, like you say.
Bastard. But he had his own little sense of pride, and he wouldn't let himself cower or grovel or anything.
Yeah.
And though it was a delight to watch him turn into a Purina.
I love how he's like, no, they're loyal. Well, Sansa had the last. You know what's funny is a lot of the feminists that got mad at the rape scene last season. I think that was kind of because people say, oh, it was gratuitous. But no. That made her revenge all the sweeter. If she was this like visceral with Ramsay without that having happened to her, we might not be so gung ho about Ramsay getting his. I mean, we would still want him to die miserably in a sad state. But but like it makes it more rewarding knowing that she's getting back something. She's getting her revenge in a way, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people criticize the show for, and basically they have expectations of instantaneous gratification, and so a lot of the criticism of the Sansa rape scene was that it happened and it didn't seem to have any kind of leverage going the other way soon enough, and I think a lot of times people sort of assume that means that it was the show sanctions it. Right. But really, I think sometimes you have to give, especially this show, multiple episodes to kind of see things sort of play out and develop. Right. And then, I think when the smoke is settled and the whole series is done, then we could kind of go back and be like, oh, yeah, they kind of glossed over this element. And yeah, the show kind of did a little bit of this, and it didn't really kind of react to it in a very positive or intelligent or realistic way. But I think that's kind of you got to kind of look at it retrospectively through like kind of a long vision. But I think a lot of times people are like, oh, I want to see this character develop right now.
John, I totally don't think this would happen, but that would be so funny if like all of our criticisms of Arya's thing from last episode and the Faceless Men are playing a super prominent role in the next season, and they totally blow us away. I'm
done telling people to wait for that sequence to kind of pan out. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the last one to jump ship on that, and I'll be regretting it next season.
Right. Yeah. So John, one thing I loved about this episode, and it's not my favorite episode because I got the most pleasure out of it, but because I was in a state of anxiety. Like when a show can put me in a state of anxiety for like almost 60 minutes straight, almost no show's ever done that to me. And I was filled with dread and hopelessness, even though in the back of my mind I thought, okay, maybe Littlefinger's going to be the thing that upsets this whole battle thing. I felt dread throughout most of this episode. Did you also have that sense of dread?
Yeah. Especially whenever Rickon ran out, and I was always a little Rickon fan. He was always my little dark horse guy. Never know what happened to Rickon.
And John, you know how you pointed out your little nitpick. I only have one small nitpick related to the Rickon thing. When they're like, "How do we know you got Rickon?"
Here's the dog head.
Look at this direwolf head, which looks just like a regular dog head.
Well, the other thing I was thinking, I was like, shouldn't that thing be kind of like rotting by now?
That's another thing too.
And they keep it in like they got a deep freezer in Winterfell. I guess maybe they would.
Oh yeah, that probably. I mean, if they were smart, they knew how to use that head.
Yeah, but I think what you're talking about in terms of their feelings, I think that's kind of the hallmark of any great work of art, is that it can elicit physiological reaction,
right,
in a way that it intends.
Right, and I think it was a home run in terms of what it intended to achieve. I mean, I think this is my favorite episode. I mean, it's hard to judge because I've just finished watching it, so there's that extra high, and so maybe I'm being a little bit not as objective as I'd like to be, but it's hard to imagine another episode that was more high stakes, better executed, more epic than this. Even if you compare it to just the other, okay, so let's just compare it to the other battles. Like you got the Battle of Blackwater, you got the Battle at the Wall, you had that awesome thing at the Hardhome. Okay, those are the other three, right? The Red Wedding really wasn't a battle. It was a big surprise. It was probably a much bigger surprise. But would you say this is the top battle?
Oh yeah. I think the other battles all kind of had gimmicks. I mean, the Blackwater had the wildfire thing going on.
Yeah.
The battle at the Wall had a whole bunch of wall tactics. That was kind of interesting. Hardhome was humans versus zombies.
Right.
This one was straight up medieval dudes versus other medieval dudes, and it didn't really try and bring in any kind of fantastic element to it.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that was an achievement in and of itself, and that kind of set it apart. And so, I agree with that. Epic.
Okay.
But
Anything? Go ahead, John.
should we leave it there?
Yeah.
Should we-
Just one last thing I had, like, a question I had actually.
Mhm.
The mountain of corpses, like, I'm assuming that wasn't because so before Littlefinger's troops arrived. Sometimes so many things are happening on the battlefield. I'm not really. I have to watch it again to see like what really happened, but that wasn't a planned thing. Like, okay, we're gonna if you're gonna die here. Let's make a little mountain of corpses so we can get up and kind of escape. Like, what was happening? Were they the people who were? I saw some people climbing over the mountain of corpses and killing people. What was going on there? I didn't really. I mean, I know it was to show. Okay, God, there's a lot of people dead here, and to create the suspense with Jon Snow. But was there any kind of tactical advantage of that mountain of bodies? Like,
Yeah, I think that was a lot of those bodies were Ramsay's own dudes, and I think Ramsay ordered his own archers to fire on his own dudes,
right.
in a sense to kind of throw up obstacles to kind of limit where the Stark troops go.
Okay, so
that's how I interpreted all that.
okay, so again, it was just like the Braveheart thing, right? Where the king's like, yeah, let's if because our men are out there. Well, their men are too. Okay. Okay. I think we're good, John. We're right at the 30-minute mark, and
Next week we got 100 minutes of Thrones. I think more than that.
oh gosh, that's
minutes?
great.
I don't know how long. I don't know if it's 100 minutes. That seems a bit too long.
It's. I think it's 15 minutes longer than a regular episode.
Okay, so we're looking at what 65 minutes.
I think it's 70. I think they said it's 70 minutes. But I'm happy. They said it's the longest episode. I'm very happy with that. By the way, I just want to give this an A++ rating. I didn't have any major complaints. It's probably my favorite episode of my favorite show of all the seasons so far. This was incredible, epic, masterpiece, and I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah, I'll give it an A too. Definitely, very a high watermark of the series and a high watermark of television.
Yeah, great.
Good. Finally, seeing things come together.
Yes, finally, the good guys score because one of the interesting things about George R. R. Martin is, he kind of upsets the typical narrative of the good guys. First of all, there aren't no clear, there's kind of a clear good guy and a clear bad guy, but not really. There's a lot of gray area. But even then, like, the smart people tend not to die. Like, people who are honor bound, who are good, are usually, on the chopping block. But then again, it would also not really make sense if the bad guys always won, because they're not going to always win. And it's nice to finally you had lots of death, lots of destruction. But when I saw that Stark banner fall down Winterfell again, I'm like, it's about time.
Well, this week during the opening credits, we'll see if when they pan over Winterfell, if they'll have the Stark banners there instead of the Bolton banners.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, I guess we'll talk again next week.
All right, John. Great chat,
people.
Yes, our viewers, thank you.
There.
Okay.
Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!